I would have exactly the same answer, and I think I was speaking with this with Monty earlier in backstage, and it's funny you asked that question to start because I'm almost 99% convinced if I could write to your question one check to any kind of a exchange, it would be towards the securities exchange where everything's going towards the STO path, very rightfully so, or moving into a more kind of regulated environment as any kind of emerging asset class, let alone cryptocurrency, kind of moves towards. So that's the thing to your first question. And to your second thing around, ERC20 or whatever kind of thing runs on the exchange, I think we're looking at different types of protocols. So if you look at Polymath and what they've done, and looking at the ST20 kind of standards, to that, I think we come to a new kind of establishment. What is a securities token offering or exchange? It's something that will be compliant, and the proprietary technology that goes into it is all going to be around what the SEC has come to agreement with, or kind of other first movers have already come up with, and has precedence rather that they are allowed to kind of subsist or exist within the regulatory framework and pass how we test and everything like that for normal securities. From my perspective, I don't think it's a sustainable model. I mean, you look at the F-coin model and you look at other variants that have come out, especially from our space in Asia, what we've seen, a lot of the copycats come out. It's more a marketing tool and gimmick, in my personal opinion. So to your question, I don't think it is a sustainable model.
You don't think that a transaction mining exchange is the answer to getting the community to trade an exchange that creates that network effect? Because I know that if I get revenues back every day by virtue of the fact that I hold the token, I'm going to get all my friends to trade on the same exchange, right?
Correct. No, I completely agree. The angle I'm coming from is more like, the way I think about it is this, right? Ultimately, in this current landscape, it may work because everyone's so focused on the trading aspect of it. But like anyone also knows, if you're looking at cryptocurrencies as a point of technology, if there's no real adoption for it and people are just trying to play it like a gimmick, it's not a sustainable model. I think my perspective on that is you're right. I think we move towards a model where it becomes more centralized, unfortunately, just because of a liquidity issue. That liquidity issue is that I'm not sure if you've ever tried trading in a decentralized thing. I've tried it several times, and it's very frustrating from a user point of view to actually be able to get any decent liquidity to do any kind of trades, even on the IDEX side.
Because there's no adoption and because there's no volume.
Exactly.
But in that, will you give us your thinking?
Yeah, for sure. I think where Coinbase is positioned and how they have that. Let me put it this way: for Binance to turn, and I was having this conversation again with Monty just then, but for Binance to turn its direction for where it is now, it's a lot harder to do. And I think where Coinbase is actually positioned and built out the infrastructure in the back end, it's from an infrastructure point of view as well as who's backing Coinbase. I think from the more Fed Reserve side of things, I think Coinbase would have a much better chance.
So Coinbase is very highly regulated here in the United States. They have very few tokens. You talk about an infrastructure that they've built. I'd like to understand what you mean by the infrastructure that you've built.
Yeah, sure. So from my perspective, right, I feel like that Coinbase, especially moving towards this kind of like we touched on earlier, this STO side and everything. And to your point, I think it's everything around regulation that gives it that edge over Binance, especially for Binance to kind of turn around where it is now. I feel like it's like a behemoth that has already gained its marketing name. For it to then kind of take over, or for it in the next 5 years to change its marketing play or put its strategies and whatnot, I think would be a much more difficult game for it.